Hey, what's going on? Pat McLaughlin here, founder of DrumlineChops.com, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to muffle a marching bass drum. Alright, so when it comes to muffling marching bass drums, there are a lot of different philosophies and methods to do it. What it all boils down to is what your desired sound is, okay? There are different methods, get different textures. They obviously all kind of achieve the same end goal of making the drum resonate a little bit less and be a little bit softer, but they definitely all have slightly different characteristics when it comes to how you muffle the bass drum, right? So in this video, we're just going to talk about a couple different popular methods and philosophies of muffling a bass drum, and hopefully give you some ideas to implement into your own bass line and improve the overall tone quality of it. All right? So, as you see here, we have one head removed and just the interior of the shell exposed. All right? Now, I know people who actually will just take a towel, such as this, and kind of fold it up, right, and lay it in here, right? Obviously a little bit more neat than that, but essentially that's what they do. Slap the other head on, put the rim on, good to go. Okay? I also know people who have just taken newspaper and crinkled it up and tossed it in the bass drum, put the other head on, good to go. All right? Those two methods work. I don't think that they are the best options, and here's why. Because when you have the bass drum and the member is taking the bass drum off, putting the bass drum on, putting it in the case sideways, then taking it back out and putting it vertical, there's a lot of shifting going on in here, right? And this towel or these newspapers are likely just to bounce around a lot, and you never really know how they're going to settle, okay? The first time you put them in there, they may be nice and neat and take up a good chunk of the bottom half of the actual shell. But then a couple days later, you know, it may all be bunched up towards the front of the drum or towards the back of the drum, right? And eventually it may just be where it's touching one head and not this head, you know? So there's a lot of variation in there that you're not going to get a consistent tone out of it, all right? So those are two methods that I have seen people use, but I don't suggest those, all right? I kind of suggest that you actually steer clear of those, all right? One viable option that actually works pretty well is to get either bass drum foam, a couple of the major drum manufacturers make them, as well as some independent manufacturers. Basically all it is this type of foam here, all right? And you'll see on one side it has an adhesive, all right? And then the other is the foam, obviously, right? And basically what you do is you cut it to the appropriate length and simply put it right inside of the shell, right? So it would go in here, let me get these out of the way, somewhat like this, all right? Now there are two philosophies here. You can either push it back so it's about an inch or so away from the bearing edge so that it never interferes with the head, and you simply have some immediate muffling right on the inside of the head. The other philosophy is to do it right on the edge of the bearing edge so that the head is actually in contact with the foam, okay? Now, this can work. You just got to make sure that you don't make it stick out too far and actually pinch the foam inside or in between the bearing edge and the head when the head is put on, okay? This is either setting it back or having it closer to the bearing edge work well because they last a really long time. Right? You can change heads and not have to worry about replacing the foam, all right? Which is a big plus. So it's very convenient, it lasts a while, it works well, and it's consistent, which is a big deal. Because then when you're tuning or you're playing in different venues, you know that that foam inside the shell isn't going anywhere. And it's always touching the head or just slightly off the head all the way around. It's always in constant position, so you're always going to get a consistent sound, which is very, very important, like I said. All right? Now, if you don't find a manufacturer who actually makes these, what you can do is go to your local home improvement store and just get some weather stripping and spray adhesive, all right? And it does the same exact thing. The thing you need to be careful about though, and this is just a personal decision that you need to make, right, is that you're going to have adhesive on the inside of the shell. And while most of the time you can get it off without a problem, you just need to understand that you are putting adhesive on exposed wood, and some of that adhesive is going to settle into the wood. All right. If that is something that that concerns you a lot, and you don't want to do that to your instruments, you should choose one of the other methods that we're going to talk about. If it's not something that you're too concerned about, and you like the idea of this method, then it's definitely a viable option for you. All right. Now, what's becoming more and more popular is for drumhead manufacturers to actually include a muffling system built within the bass drum, all right, or within the bass drum head. So you'll see back here, this is actually the drum head, okay, and there's this ring that goes all the way around it, and then these white strips are actually velcroed in or taped in to the white strip itself, all right. These are really nice because A, it's part of the head, and B, it's very, very consistent. Okay, you get an even balance of muffling across the head, and you can adjust it in the sense that you can have one of these put in, 2 of them, 4 of them, 6 of them, or 8 of them. So you can control exactly how much muffling you want on the drum head itself. All right. Then you're free of anything else floating around here. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about foam falling off or a towel or newspaper floating around or anything like that. Super, super consistent. It's right up against the head. It's very balanced. You can do it identical on both sides without having to worry about anything. And it's a really, really good option. Okay? And if you're spending, anywhere between 30 and 60 bucks on a bass drum head anyways, having this additional feature is a lifesaver sometimes, okay? So if you're looking to get new drum heads, check ones out with the actual muffling system built into them and see if that's for you, okay? Now, the last option I want to talk about is an external muffling style, right? So this is the old drum head, right? You can see we needed to replace it because it was very used, battered. You can actually see dents in the head itself now, right? So this is the old head, right? But what is kind of common sometimes for an external muffling system is to actually place the rim on here and then foam the outside of the head, right? Either like this on each side, or I've seen people actually make patches where you take paper towels, fold them over into an even rectangle, and then use electrical tape to tape them on to the bottom of the head or the top of the head. Okay? And so those are 2 common methods of external muffling. All right? And what that does is basically just dampens the head and still allows the inside of the drum to resonate fully. All right? So you get a much more articulate sound from the head because the head's not resonating as much, and as a result the drum doesn't resonate as much, but it still has some of that ring to it, some of that singing going on. Okay, so again, these are all just a bunch of different options that you can choose from. Really what it comes down to is you experimenting and finding out which method is A, best for you, most convenient for you, and B, which one actually gets you your desired sound with your preferred tuning methods and whatnot. Okay, so I hope that this video gave you some insight into different methods of actually muffling bass drums, and I hope that you're encouraged to go try some of them out and find the ones that work best for you. All right? Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email through the contact page on drumlinechops.com. All right? Thanks again for watching this, and as always, I will see you in the next video.